Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. Get some weed and now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue our comic book movie journey through film with Iron Man 2. It was released May 7th, 2010, with a screenplay and story by Justin Theroux and directed by Jon Favreau. I am Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. We are also joined by Tavares Pennington. What's up, homie?
Yo, how goes it?
It goes quite well, because today we have a joyous occasion. We are also joined by KBZ, Kyler Barnett. What is up, homie?
Not much, man. Happy to be back at it. Excited to talk about this one.
Oh, excited to have you. This is, like I said, special occasion because I did a little research last night, but you know, same difference.
Mm-hmm.
You two, Tavares and Kyler, are the third and fourth most frequently appearing hosts on the podcasts. Combined, this is the 145th episode between the two of you. However, this is one of 145 where you've been on the same one. So we got this is quite the special.
I was about to say,
special occasion.
This actually is the first one. You've already you did the
I was
research.
gonna say, I don't think.
Shit.
I didn't want to say something like last week when we started planning this, but I was like, I don't really think me and Tavares have ever recorded. But I was trying to rack my brain about something like super early on that maybe we would have linked up.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, the distribution service we have, Transistor, is very, you can like add people to every episode, and it has like a whole catalog where if you click on somebody, it shows every episode they've been on, and I've got it all set up now where all of us have our own little section, and there is no overlap. This is first time ever, and what a good one it is to be a part of, because I have a feeling it's going to be a fun one from the conversations me and Joe had prior to this episode. We are not exactly on the same page. Kyler, how are you feeling about this movie?
Honestly, I thought back to how I felt about it back when I first started, when we did this the first time, and I definitely think I've changed a little bit, just because I think the bar and standard and just things have changed so much. I'm also like that's almost like, well, I guess 3 years ago now. Not to, I'm so much older and grown up now, but I do think I've had some different context and conclusions about some Marvel things in the last 3 years. So I don't know. I definitely looked at it a little more critically than I think I had in the past. But there's still definitely some moments to really like and enjoy about this movie. I definitely have got some fun thoughts to have. So
my boy, you're in the exact same boat that I am. Actually, I hadn't watched it since we discussed it on the original endeavor to try and do a separate thing, and ultimately I just folded it into this. But regardless, I hadn't watched it in about 3.5 years, would be my guess. Almost 4 years, because that was like January of 2020, so it was a long time ago. But yeah, I'm in a similar place. Tavares, how are you feeling about this one?
I mean, it's honestly becoming more and more nostalgic. I was watching Iron Man 3, honestly, a few months ago, and I was like, I hated this movie when I first saw it. I fucking love that movie now. And rewatching this one, I'm like, this was like a really important pivot point in the MCU and its history, because like it was at this point at Iron Man 2 where everyone realized, oh, this shit's big. Like, they're doing this shit.
No, I'm with you. It was there was something about this one that made me feel like, in this project, what we've seen as part of the MCU so far is Iron Man and Incredible Hulk. And this is the third one, Iron Man 2. This is much, much more similar to the MCU to come than the 2 MCU movies prior. Joseph, how are you feeling coming off this recent watch?
I'm not in total disagreement with you. I'm in a similar boat as in it's been a while since I have watched it. And I do recognize, it may not be critically as what I once thought it was. But I'm just having like a blast while watching now, specifically because of like the action scenes that are in here. I think are done really, really well, and they are sick. And then 2, like it is the history and the nostalgia, and like seeing Cap Shield level out his particle accelerator, or see Agent Coulson go down to New Mexico to check out Thor's hammer, and Black Widow's introduced. Maybe she could have been introduced in her own movie. Not necessarily shoved into an Iron Man movie, but. Her character is great, but it's a little too rushed, in my opinion.
Hey, like she got her own movie. Okay?
I know it's a little too late.
Later,
a little too late.
Matter.
A tad too late. Better late than never, but a little late.
The fact that she's one of the
first, I actually don't have. Scene. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's crazy it took that long, considering she was one of like the first on the scene of the like core Avengers group.
Well, thank God Hawkeye doesn't have his own movie. He got his own show later as well.
At least there's that. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want a Hawkeye movie.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe with Haley Steinfeld.
There you go.
But I really enjoy Black Widow's inclusion in this movie. Natasha Romanoff. I gave her my favorite character of the movie because of the original Avengers. As time has passed, I think she's become my favorite. It's like her and Thor for me, top 2. And to see her introduced in this one with it's a iffy portrayal. In terms of she certainly stands alone. She has her own agency and she is incredible characterization wise. But man, do they do everything they possibly can to be like, look at the ass on Scarlett Johansson. How about it?
Yes, they do. And also Jon Favreau likes to be involved in many of those situations. He's in the ring and he gets a full leg wrap around of his head from ScarJo. I wonder why he wanted to be the one in the ring during this, and Happy Hogan is training him to fight.
This dude's like Tarantino with the feet.
Exactly.
Right.
But he's way more forward. Well, I guess Tarantino's very forward about his feet shit. But no, Jon Favreau, I mean, this is like in the back of his car too, driving her and she's changing in the back and he's looking in the mirror and like all, it's pretty rough. And even like the humor about it, Tony being like, I want one to Pepper, like whenever she walks out, like it is a little childish. But
absolutely. And there's just, it's the start of their inconsistency with the way that they show Black Widow and cast her as a character. Cause like she goes from one moment, like kind of a prop more or less to like a super badass that can do anything Captain America can to like kind of lost and like not doing shit at all. It's just like her arc, they're kind of fucked up.
Oh yeah. The through line of Natasha Romanoff through the MCU is, it's not straight. That thing is it's up and down, up and down, up and down. But it was a relatively good place to start. I think it was a compelling way to introduce her as like an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she's infiltrated Stark Industries to kind of keep an eye on Tony and so like that is a fun way to introduce an espionage character, and I think they did a wonderful job there. But
her hallway scene was really cool too. Like,
badass! I love the comedy there, where he's like, "I got him," and she's taking out an entire fucking hallway of dudes. Hung one from the ceiling.
Yeah, and Jon Favreau also had to bite the dude's ear to get the upper hand finally, and then he gave him 3 haymakers. And like, I love how in every situation Jon Favreau appear to be like the the manly man, like even whenever they're getting in the car,
really
like Natasha.
He hit the dude with an uppercut that launched him like 4 feet off the ground.
Yeah,
You mean to tell me that Jon Favreau is punching me 4 feet off the ground?
Nah.
And
that other guy was not small.
That guy was fit. He was fit.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
dude, brother, I know Jon Favreau ain't got it like that because he was biting Christopher Moltisanti's flow in The Sopranos trying to get like him. Bro, if you're trying to get like Christopher Moltisanti, you ain't doing all that great.
Oh, damn. Okay. Damn, you're right. That's a deep
cross section of Favreau's had some great, his fingerprints and like what he's been able to,
undeniably impactful.
Is crazy. Well, like
it's the holiday season now. Everyone's tuning in to fucking Elf. Also directed by Jon Favreau. Also, Jon Favreau has a small role in that where he's the doctor who pricks Buddy's finger, and he's like, "My finger has a heartbeat." That whole thing. Jon Favreau, very, very influential figure in Hollywood.
Dude,
but
it's crazy.
Wow.
No, it was I will not deny what Joe was saying a little bit ago. It is a fun time. You are going to have a good time with this movie, especially if you have a longer history with the MCU. I didn't grow up loving Tony Stark. I didn't I didn't love Tony Stark until Infinity War and Endgame kind of rolled around. Because when I was younger, I was always like, Thor was my main guy, but Civil War comes around. And by then I'm already I'm more like Captain America than I did Iron Man. So then you got even beyond the actual point of the debate between the two, the fight between the two, I'm taking Team Cap and stuff. I'm like, I like Captain America more. Fuck Iron Man. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So I don't have a nostalgic attachment to Tony Stark or RDJ's portrayal of him beyond just having seen him for a very long time. This movie left me extremely cold. I remember thinking it was underrated. I remember thinking it was, it flies under the radar a bit. Bottom 3 MCU.
Ever?
Bottom 3 MCU.
Whoa. This is blasphemy. Sumai might be needed this episode. I did not think I did not think that would happen because
look at the MCU's lineup. Even if this one you don't think is that bad, I think you'll still find it bottom 5.
So Iron Man 3 is also
Iron Man 3 is number 1 of these 3 movies.
Okay, just making sure.
No. I had a perfect thought for this situation right here.
No,
I've been thinking about this, especially in the context of that we've all kind of talked about how we really haven't came back to this movie a lot. I think what's weird is I feel like I've rewatched Iron Man 3 not only more times, but definitely probably more recently than I had any of the others. And I was trying to think about why that might be. And I think when I look back at it, I think that Iron Man 3, in terms of how it portrays Tony and what that does to his arc, I think that movie highlights a lot more of his redeemable qualities and a lot of the things that make his arc, I guess, a lot of the substantial things that kind of move the needle as far as perception for his character comes in that movie. I don't think he does a ton in these 2 movies to really earn a ton of, I guess, redeeming quality or traits per se. I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't do some good in this movie. He naturally does. But as far as the ego in terms of kind of whatever and all of the other antics and general attitude or whatever, I think that's kind of what it is. And I think when you look at how he was used as far as after Iron Man 3, it makes sense why you would rewatch Iron Man 3 more. If you're looking for the Tony that you've come to know in Infinity War, in Homecoming, in Civil War, you're going to want to watch Iron Man 3 probably because that's the character that more closely resembles, who he is in any of those other movies.
He's on his journey, dude. But he's on his way there. That's the whole. He's not.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm okay with that. And Iron Man 1. That's a compelling character. And Iron Man 3, that's a compelling character. I mean, I know he's like dying.
A dying man just trying to, you know, set things up so that when he goes, it's all good. I don't know. I got something new out of this watch.
Setting things up is an exaggeration.
Okay. I think he's
burning shit down most of the time.
Not to him though. To him, like on his way out, like Pepper as CEO is the perfect replacement in his mind. She already runs the company anyways. Mm-hmm. Rhodey as, you know, the next Iron Man, he probably already had authorization even before all of this anyways, but like, obviously he's the clear usher in for the new Iron Man there. And like, that's exactly what happens. He's, you know, getting drunk on his birthday. Well, if this was your last birthday, what would you do? You know, and he's living it up and
blow up my house.
Kind of.
But I understand where you're coming from.
Was it a chess match? You know, was he forcing Rhodey into a suit to make him take one? Or do you think that was just so you know, like
no? I think if you want to talk about him setting his homies up, he sits down with Rhodey and he goes, "Hey man, I'm dying."
Yeah, but this is also a kids movie. This is also a kids movie, and
fuck that.
Kids
need to face death. They do all the time. Bambi's mom fucking dies, bro.
Yeah, like but this is different. I don't know.
No, yeah, there's a prostitution joke. So, I mean, like that's clearly for 7-year-olds. I mean,
they get one of those before they have to upgrade the rating.
Yeah, right.
One prostitution joke for kids.
Like
and obviously that's one of those things that's going to fly over a kid's head. They're not going to clock that. Like I'm not trying to. It is a movie for kids. Like don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be like this is super adult. No, like it is absolutely for children, and there's no question about that. I just do think that, you know, I mean, like to further your point though, like is that what we want to teach kids? Is that you want to get drunkenly fight your best friend on your birthday in a super powerful suit and scream at all the guests like,
it's not even about teaching so much as just being like, this is real life. Like more than likely you're going to know somebody who did this.
Right. Yeah. No, cautionary tale sort of. Yeah. No, like, yeah. So I don't want
He literally pissed his pants. He was how is he supposed to be someone we want?
Okay. Think about it. As a kid, a piss or fart joke, that's the funniest shit in the world. So like if you hear pee or fart,
give me a fat beat to beat my buddy's ass too.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious, dude. I swear it was an outtake. I swear like it was like, I don't know, maybe he was supposed to say it in a certain way, but then he just started cracking up in the middle. And they were just like, oh, that's actually perfect anyways. Like,
DJ, give me a fat beat to beat my buddy's ass too. And he like breaks.
I'm just telling you, the best thing about this movie didn't even make the entire movie. And me and Colton talked about this so much before the last time we talked about this. If you haven't seen this, the plane scene where it's when he jumps out before the expo right at the beginning, they had a different opening where like he's getting sick on the plane and Pepper's there. And I can't remember. He's like, do you have some Motrin or something like that? Or I can't remember. You'll have to watch it. For those of you listening, if you haven't watched this clip, look up Iron Man 2, Tony and Pepper plane scene, something of that order.
The deleted Tony and Pepper plane scene, whatever. It's very, very funny. Well, and that's the thing too.
Hilarious.
Cutting it, there's a certain more adult storyline they could have gone with, and I will give Joe credit here where there is a element of this toned down for children, and probably for Robert Downey Jr.'s benefit is that Tony Stark is an alcoholic in the comic books. That is a part of his character, and the reason he's getting sick on the plane is because he's hammered. When he shows up to the expo, he's hammered. When he's dealing with his imminent death at his birthday party, he's hammered. Like, and that ends up being the only scene in the movie where he's drunk, and you kind of understand it and stuff. But there is an element to this movie that kind of falters, in my opinion, for not leaning more into Tony Stark's self-destructive behavior, because it does come off childish, and there's not enough of a real adult angle of it. He does seem like a teenager lashing out more than a grown man facing his imminent demise, you know? And I think that's one of the places where this movie kind of falters for me. And like, not in a major way. I think No, go ahead. Sorry.
So you're saying like you didn't feel like the stakes were there, like you didn't like you feel like you knew the whole time that he was going to kind of get his act together because he didn't risk enough.
Along those lines, but I mean, like, I just think that there wasn't enough. I don't know how to.
I guess what I can understand kind of. I think because they couldn't lean into the alcoholism thing for why he's lashing out and making these decisions, it seems a little less based in reality for how an adult would react. I guess is that kind of something?
Yeah, that is something like, and I mean, like, you don't need to go full blown into alcoholism lane or anything.
They could have just gone two different roads. Like for this movie, one is the way they took it; they toned down the adult-ish themes that they could have gone with. Like, they could have gone heavy into, like, I am a dying man. Pepper, I love you. Like, I've never said this before. Rhodey, you're one of my best friends ever. You know, like, we don't spend enough time together. They could have gone hard into that. But, like,
and that's the other thing is that, like, it is complicated because characterization wise, I feel kind of, we've reset from Iron Man 1, and it's because he has become a superhero. He is now famous for bringing world peace. Like, I understand why his ego is the size of a fucking mountain. It would be. It makes a lot of sense. I have no issue with that. I just think that given the conclusions he comes to in Iron Man 1 about what is important to him and what, like, going forward he is going to keep in mind, to not sit down and have those conversations that are important. And I know he has the conversation where he's like going to give Pepper CEO and stuff, but like to never sit down with Rhodey, to never sit down with Pepper and be like, hey, shit's going on, I'm gonna die.
And my thinking is kind of like Favreau and Theroux trusted that they had demonstrated that point well enough, and I think that this conversation is kind of saying that they did not necessarily do that.
To Colton's point too, I think a little bit of it too can. Fuck, what was my train of thought? God damn it! Sorry.
Gone? Is it gone?
That's crazy. No,
it happens.
I had two, and that's the problem. I was gonna go with one and then segue into what Colton was saying. I kind of agree because it was right there.
Honestly, leave this in.
I'm gonna. No, you're all good. If it comes back, it comes back.
Come back, and I'll interrupt.
You're good to go.
I'm sure, just like I always do.
It was interesting because every time I've watched this movie, I mean, I watched it in high school or maybe a time or two in college. I don't even know if I did. But like I never thought of like Tony is dying or like I'm like he's gonna make it. I don't know. It's like he's not gonna die.
No, yeah, you know he makes it to the next.
Yeah, and I'm like, so I'm like I'm more focusing on the fun stuff that happens. But then like this watch, you know, I'm definitely a different movie watcher than I was in high school, and it would have been nice to have, you know, that more adult theme or like and tap into that stuff. But they replaced it for just kind of a really cool and easy villain arc with Whiplash. I thought, and you know. Is it Ivan?
Ivan Vanko.
Ivan Vanko. I mixed up. Oh, Drago.
Ivan Drago.
Yeah, thinking of Drago. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I thought his villain arc was. It's one movie. It's one and done. I thought it was actually pretty cool. The flip side to Tony, you know, and then some cool ass fight scenes with drone robots that are, you know, like I don't know, like. I just thought that the conflicts in this movie were really cool because they didn't go with the more adult themes and stuff like that. I think that's what they were focusing on.
I'm interested what you all think about kind of putting this in more context, that this is following the introduction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is at a point at which they know that they're going to be successful with this movie pretty much. Like, the cash is in the bank before that thing even hit theaters. Could it be attributed to them, like this lack of seriousness, them trying to kind of find that line that they have, I think, since improved on about what a family-friendly movie looks like and sounds like? Because it's like they have to deal with those people who read the Iron Man comics in the 1900s, and then they have to deal with people who have never heard about the Iron Man comics.
The 1900s. I saw a tweet earlier today that was talking about a paper from 1994 and said something about how is it possible for me to write a source a paper from the late 1900s? Fuck you.
Oh, late 1900s. We're not that far into the 2000s yet.
We are
30 years ago, bro.
We're not there. We're not. Are we the 1900s?
Am I supposed to say 20th century or 20th century? Like that sounds even further century. Back.
Yeah,
bro. Yeah. No, we're not there
so
yet. Come on.
I did come up with my thought. And it was kind of in regards to what Colton was saying about kind of the lack of, I guess, a real kind of motive or driver for Tony in a sort of sense, like with his character in terms of the ego and all of that. And I think kind of what I came to is like no real impact. Like he talked about what was important to Tony and the conclusions he made in Iron Man 1. Like, after the end of Iron Man 1, you would come to the conclusion that Yinsen and what he made him think and believe in, kind of how he came to the conclusion that he needed to step up and be somebody bigger for the world, and be a little more selfless. Like, you could not tell me where Yinsen's impact on Tony's character or motivations is in this movie at all.
I think it's not necessarily he has to be the hero. It's just that you have to stop letting your company sell all these weapons to the end. You have to stop this whole shit from happening, and you can't let people abuse the technology you create. And that's the whole point of the first movie, is that they are trying to steal his arc reactor because no one else in the world can make it. It's impossible. Like, it's so far out, you have to be Tony Stark to build it. So it's like, and he's the one and only person in the world who has that capability. That's why he's so cocky in the courtroom. You know, fantastic. Look at Hammer Industries. Like that, I put the line there because I almost gave it my scene. But like, I love when he's like, yeah, I'd say most countries 5-10 years away. Hammer Industries 20. You know, like, and when he's walking out of the room, just being like, and I will serve this great nation at the pleasure of myself. And if there's one thing that I've proven, you can count on me to pleasure myself. I don't know. Robert Downey Jr. just fucking owns this character, dude. He's so good. But then the moment when Whiplash comes out and he sees an arc reactor made, it kind of throws him into shambles. He's like, oh, wait, like, he's kind of like, I was a little too confident, you know, but then he learns like, oh, he had the literal blueprints, like, you know, I guess like kind of, but I guess, you know, he's the flip side of Tony. He's kind of like another just minuscule like chance of it working out happening. Like, I don't think you give an average person on the streets these blueprints and they whip up an arc reactor, you know. I don't think that's going on. I think
and Tony's response is, I'm just gonna make a new fucking element. Cool. Whatever, bro.
He needed to save his life though, and it was his father's secret.
Oh yeah, no complaint. It's just a nothing. It's a nothing thing to him. He's like, yeah, just going to create a new element. Sure, just going to discover time travel. You know, shit like that. I love that Tony's just like, and I love the discrepancy between Hammer and Stark specifically, where Hammer Tech is like number 2. That's like that is the second best that you have, and it's Justin fucking Hammer. You know what I'm saying?
I also love that in this movie, the way they portray Hammer is that he is all of the charm that Tony Stark has, or like he thinks he has that same charm, or he tries to act and walk and talk that way. But when it comes time to like actually, you know, have your bark be the bite, it doesn't really work for him. And I think that's
the ex-wife.
I fucking love. I love Rockwell's character in this movie, dude. I love Justin Hammer. He is amazing in this movie.
Not gonna lie, kind of some clean moves when he's walking out on the stage. You know,
he's
like his little leg,
little jazzy beat. That little,
I don't know. I was,
man.
I didn't know he had it in him.
Bro, I had the footwork. No, no, Sam Rockwell. I've always enjoyed him as an actor, and his portrayal of Justin Hammer has always been one of the more original takes in the MCU. You know, I don't think there's anybody you can point to in the MCU and go, oh, that's somebody trying to be like Justin Hammer or bite Sam Rockwell a little bit, you know. Like, this is pretty unique to this movie, and I like that he's kind of the foil to Tony Stark, and that it's like kind of what Tony Stark could have been if he was just a little dumber, you know, if he was just a little bit dumber.
Exactly. Yeah, that's number 2. So that's why Tony was so confident. He's like, if this is number 2 in the United States, good. He's I'm chilling. I'm chilling. Right. This thing is on me for quite a while, and just him for quite some time. But I don't know. I think I
would like to note that test pilot survived.
Yeah, not like he did before though. His life is forever changed. I'm assuming. I don't.
Yeah, that man's legs don't work.
No. Yeah. It's either his upper. Yeah, no. It's definitely his legs are gone. I was gonna say which part of his body doesn't work, but like, yeah, it's just
severed down
severed.
There.
Yeah, like,
turned all the way around, bro.
Oh, yeah,
can't go well.
Yeah, not good. But Vanko though, like, talk about I don't know. I think he is kind of an underrated villain. You know, he's not like in the power status of like a Thanos or any other villain, but like as far as his arc goes and his story, I thought it was like actually really cool, and I almost gave him the character.
I think he is my favorite character, honestly, and it's just maybe because I'm starting to like darker, like those kind of darker, more menacing characters. But he just, man, like his delivery, like on his lines, are just fucking intimidating, and I'm just like, holy hell,
dude,
like
that dude is scary.
Mickey Rourke, man, he's good. He's a good actor, man. I think underrated in the scope of some of those older gentlemen who have.
I think he was totally fucking wasted in this movie, dude. They made him scream really? And just utter shit in like one line.
I want my bird.
Okay, listen, I don't have the hugest issue with him. Like, I love Mickey Rourke. I just think that like they gave all of the charisma or all of the like, I guess. You know, like, it's hard for me to really care about Vanko in this movie because he doesn't get a whole lot of anything. Like, you get the montage. You get a wordless montage from him after he just watched his father die. You saw one word from his father, maybe 2. That's it.
And maybe that's what makes him more...
you don't really get anything from him. And, like, he doesn't get to actually have any substantial impact. Well, I mean, I guess.
He tells
but
Tony,
like,
you lose. And it's not that he had to actually beat him. It's the public character assassination of him right there. It's like, hey, I have your tech.
Like,
here you get.
I will admit, his moments, like, he has a couple moments, like the you lose, and you can tell, like, yeah, this does make a big difference because now it shows that, like, Tony basically was capping that whole time in the Senate hearing or whatever. It doesn't feel like he gets as much chance to really shine. And I think that's because Rockwell gets like equal parts of the film to be a villain as well. That's where I think it gets hard is they're trying to world build all of the while with all of the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. Tony's about to die. Pepper's running the company. On top of that, you now have 1.5 villains, 2 villains. You know what I'm saying?
It's like there's kind of just the yin yang going on though.
In this. You have the father arc with Tony. There's just so much, so many mouths to feed, and I think there are multiple compelling stories that could have been built up.
Look at the yin yang.
And I think that's why
both people, the Tony and the Vanko, both cut off from the outside world, can't communicate with the outside world. They're forced inside, have to create their new shit. Tony creates a new element. Vanko creates his big suit and his army. And in the meantime, Tony has his father figure to help him out and created the new element. Vanko has nobody. He's by himself. It's why he fails. It's like, it's this actual, like, it's a sick kind of, like, when you look at the, Tony and Vanko.
But that's all I mean, that's just, like, there, like, just because of, like, how the story unfolds. I mean, that's not, like, something
it's pretty purposeful. I think it's I think they're thinking about it.
No, they didn't happen upon it on accident, but I'm with Kyler. I get what he's saying.
Like, it's just it's like a worthy adversary sort of thing, you know. It's like they're building they're both building their shit up. They're both like techies, you know, or whatever. That's what scientists do. They're in their cave and they make their shit, you know, or whatever. And then they unveil it to the world. I thought, you know, I don't know. I thought I like those montages.
I think the more interesting contrast is between the two villains. I think it's much more interesting the contrast between Vanko and Hammer, in that we've got the mouthy personality, always on, never off, says he's got it, does not have it, cannot build shit for shit. Then you got Vanko, who doesn't say a fucking word, hardly does anything as far as boasting or building himself up. There's no ego there. There is a single drive, and it's to fuck up Tony Stark. And he has the capability of doing it. So that like, and I do appreciate the contrast between Tony and Vanko as well. But I thought that's the, like, what I was talking about is what makes the villain team up even kind of work. Because I do think that's part of why I end up coming down on an iffy side in this movie, is that I actually, to kind of, I feel bad for saying this, because I've always really, really enjoyed Sam Rockwell and his portrayal of Justin Hammer. I came away cold on him this movie as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys think of him as a villain? Like,
don't? What the fuck?
I mean, like, he's obviously a antagonist. He's on the opposition of Tony, but like, he's a non-factor. He's just like supplying Vanko with what he needs. He's like, I don't know. I don't think of him as like an active, like he's against Tony and Stark Industries, but he's not like trying to kill Tony, I don't know, and like to literally murder him at any chance he can get,
So like, I see what you're saying, but I feel like they do situate him as if he is a real threat to Tony, which is, I haven't thought about it.
He's the supplier. He's the he's the beneficiary. He's the
benefactor.
Benefactor. Yeah, he's that. I don't think of him as like a villain. I mean, he is an antagonist, and he's definitely on the darker side, but he's not Vanko.
So what is? I see. Here's my thing. I don't think they give us enough reason to dislike Vanko.
I think it's just purely against Iron Man. Like, I don't even really hate him, because it's like his story. Like, I don't really hate him. Like, I don't think it's about that. I don't. I think it's just he has motive enough to want to ruin Stark's legacy. That's it. It's not like I understand exactly where he's coming from. I don't think it has to be a villain of evil.
That makes Hammer every bit as much a villain as Vanko, in my opinion. He's got much, and also I've got
one has murder on their mind, though. Like, that's a different level.
One could argue that weapon stealing.
I don't know. Hammer is just a pussy. He's just all talk. I don't think of him as a villain whatsoever. Like,
you might not think of him as a threat.
The guns he shows the military are guns that they have all the time, and then the one thing that they don't have doesn't work at all. So like, he's a non-factor whatsoever. Like, to put him in the class of villains in the MCU, I think is giving him too much credit. I think he's literally just supplying Vanko with what he needs, and that's it. Dude is nothing on his own.
Well, then could you get with the perspective that his presence in this movie is overstated then?
Yeah, like, Vanko should have been more present.
There as much as he is?
Yeah, like, Vanko should have been more present. Like, I think swap the camera, times they're on screen, and I think you make for a much better movie. But just in terms of who's the villain of the movie, it's Vanko. That's all I'm trying to say, is that, like, I don't think it works well for the movie. No. I just think what we have, like, Vanko's storyline, it has the bones. It could have been enhanced.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, Joe, I think the story of the connecting roundabout way that Vanko and Tony started, basically from what should have been the same point. Both dads, brilliant genius scientists who should have more money than they ever know what to do with, and starting out with every advantage, and should have been able to achieve brilliant things.
Man, though.
Yeah. So
not a scientist.
Now you separate the two, as you mentioned, with Vanko living in extreme poverty and basically abolished to live in, the frickin' Siberia, I don't know, Russia, wherever he's at. I can't remember now. Yeah, then you have Tony, who basically lives a posh life, goes through Harvard, MIT, all of whatever, and like grows into this, what we know him to be. That's way more compelling, that jealousy of that should have been me. We've seen that before. That story's been done way more compelling than like, oh, well, we'll just have him stew in the background as we let this kind of Tony Stark-esque character who just can't do anything right takes up 80% of the, like, progressing the villain plot forward.
What
is it wrong to say that Vanko's? I would argue that Vanko's best scenes. I would argue that Vanko's best scenes are just him fighting, and Mickey O'Rourke is not an actor who I think should just be said, "Hey, you're just an action. You're a stunt guy. You're gonna go fight for me." Like,
I've never seen him act. I didn't know. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that he was just like a very good stunt actor, and that is why he wasn't very vocal in the movie, because his action is really good. Like, whenever he breaks out of prison and kills that one dude, slams his head against the toilet, sets the charge, like walks out, and then snaps that fucking one guard's neck, and then walks away from the explosion again. Like, it just looked like professional stunt worthy. So I thought that he was just kind of like more of a stunt actor, rather than like a vocal, part in movies.
I also really like those villains specifically that don't say much. Like, they just act on like kind of what their intention is, and it's part of what I don't think they execute fully on is like resolving the mystery that they introduce him with, because like they introduce him, he hardly says anything, like we were saying earlier, and you're just kind of a little confused. And to be frank, like, you get halfway through the movie and you're like, oh, maybe he is just the pawn and Hammer is the real big bad. But it's like by the end of the movie, I forget Hammer was in it sometimes. Like, honestly, every time I watch Iron Man 2, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's in it. Specifically, I think about the scene where Hammer and Vanko meet, which I think says a lot about the relationship between those two and the relationship this movie has with its villains, because it's like he hardly says anything, and the first things he does say to Hammer aren't even in English. It's just them trying to communicate.
Have you not understood a thing I've said the whole time? That part was pretty funny.
I think maybe it's another yin yang going on there, or just flip flop. Is Hammer is all talk and not the walk, but then you have Vanko, who is all walk, no talk. Vanko just goes on his pure power. He knows, like, he doesn't need to say anything when he walks out on the Formula One track and slices a car in half. You already
know what he's here to say.
It's awesome. That's fucking badass. The dude shows up and holy shit, it's wartime, like, it's going down right now. And then it also gives a sick ass suit up moment, the briefcase. The football. I love a suit up moment, and this one's just so sick. I love how Vanko is just giving them the time to do it too.
That's always very funny to me. Yeah, my favorite thing about that scene is that, like, it reminded me of something that they, I think that Tony and Pepper are obviously the heart of the first movie, and they play on that to an extent in the second one as well. Not nearly as much. I think this movie is just packed to the brim with way too much stuff. Sometimes they don't know what to give the right amount of screen time. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog in the background here. He's getting vocal. He's trying to speak. But there's this interesting little, like, screwball comedy thing they've got going on with Tony and Pepper in that scene. Like, the whole process of trying to hand off the briefcase. It reminded me a lot of this, like, Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, 40s comedy sort of thing, where, like, he's like, all right, just hand it to me. But now it's in this superhero context and mega sci-fi. Like, I love that scene. That's like, and anytime we've got like an action scene, you're not going to hear a complaint out of me. Like, this shit was well done action. The only gripe I have personally is that the VFX from 1 to 2 go downhill somehow. Don't know how that happened.
I think it's the different suits. Like, there's multiple suits that they have on him because they get destroyed, and it's like Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. Mm-hmm. And it's just the more time you have with one 3D model, the better it's going to look. I think it's just they had to create so many different suits, and then also, I guess in 1, he really only has his main suit for it's long into the movie until he makes like his main suit. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot less screen time as well, I'd say. But I did see the downgrade, especially when he's jumping off the plane. Like, in the beginning, it's like that suit looks completely like not real. But the fight at the end with all the droids, and then with Vanko coming in at the end, I think that was like the best looking part of the entire movie. In that like garden kind of dome, the sphere. With like the leaves falling down
and everything,
all the troops going around them, and like I ended up choosing that for my scene. Yeah,
that's the only reason I like Don Cheadle as War Machine. I hated Don Cheadle the entire movie until the end, and I was like, All right.
No, they don't utilize Don Cheadle's abilities in a single fucking ounce in this movie, I don't think.
Yeah.
Just a complete non-factor, and like you said, he's supposed to be the successor, and Tony's setting him up as such. And goddamn, the propaganda was fucking horrendous. My God, when he flies the suit back to base, and there's triumphant American music, and he lands, and they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." You know, like that sort of thing.
That is kind of the biggest wet dream the military could have, though. A Iron Man suit hand delivered to them on their front porch.
Don't get me wrong. Most of the stuff you've said, I completely understand why they've done it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it makes it good. You know, like, I understand the logic they use to get there, but like, it's just, it's not a good scene. And then like the next time we see him, when the suit's in the fucking thing charging, and he's just standing there with the dude he's like, "Yep, we got him, sir." And then they're like, "Well, we're going to go ahead and put this on display." "I don't think we should do that." "Well, we're going to." "Okay, well, sorry."
I think that perfect. It counters the propaganda. You see exactly what the military plan to do. No. You don't have to go, what? Don Cheadle, he takes out the arc reactor so they don't have it. He's like, "I'm not giving them that. They can have the suit. They can't have the reactor." And he is trying to get his word in because he's the guy in the suit, but he can't get any word in at all. It's the military's very clear in what they're trying to do right now. I think like the military, Justin Hammer, you said he was the villain. He is partnered with the military. So the military is also a villainous entity in this movie, if you think Hammer's a villain. So like, it's not propaganda, I don't think. I think it's very clear.
I don't think that the usage of the military within this movie is propagandic. I think that moment was. There's an like, it doesn't negate a scene that did happen. You know, like
so like the minuscule amount of propaganda and then shitting on the military afterwards.
Shitting on the military is an extreme way to put it.
They get shit on, even with Drago or Vanko as the villain too. Tony shits on him, and literally War Machine and him just fucking take them all out. And that's the whole point of Tony's thing, is that he's not with United. Well, I guess he kind of does say he'll serve the nation, but he is a separate entity that is privatized, like World.
There's nothing,
stuff like that.
Nothing American or patriotic about his entrance into the Stark Expo. I'll tell you that.
Superhero landings. You're saying that's just American
in front of an American flag? Yes.
I mean, okay. Like, I don't think it was that.
I think for a little bit of context, I was just at an event today where they hung up a huge fucking American flag, and it just made it American. I don't know how to explain it. It just
it makes it patriotic. And no, don't get me wrong. I'm not like that scene. I'm being facetious about. Like, we got the billionaire tech boy who's privatized world peace. I'm not saying that I've done this. I'm not saying that I've done this. Like, I get what he's doing. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, like I get what's going on here. But I don't think it makes it good. That's just me.
It's 2010. This seems very, if they make this movie today, they don't make that decision. I see what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
but like,
it's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think it's.
I don't think it makes it wrong though. It's just
like I don't think it makes it wrong. Like, specifically the superhero entrance, like that's fine. Like, that doesn't fucking matter. But I mean, the MCU has been undeniably propagandic up like for years, up until Captain Marvel might have been the last time when it was like Air Force pilot superhero, baby. Let's fucking get it.
Yeah. If you want to talk propaganda, I mean, how are you not mentioning Justin Hammer coming out on stage saying, "Here's the future of the United States military, the Marines, the Air Force." The Navy. Like, that's the most propaganda shit in the movie, I think. And even then, it is immediately turned whenever it is not the military has zero control over those drones. It is all Vanko. Like, that was his entire plan. He said, "Yeah, I can make him salute." That's all he did for them, and then he used them for his own, whatever. I don't know what I'm trying. His own agenda. Something along those lines. So, like, I mean,
I'm tired of appealing to the liberal agenda. Line from Robert Downey Jr. in this movie.
That is true. That is true.
I mean, like, I fuck the liberal agenda on my end as well.
I mean, Elon is literally in this movie, and he's I mean, it's a clear inspiration. I mean, like, there's a reason in the movie. Like, it is very clear where Robert Downey Jr. got his inspiration from. And 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, I would have nutted over that scene and said that he was the greatest addition into the MCU. But yeah, I'm out of that camp.
I'm out of that camp. It's been a long time coming. It's no. So, like, I think that there's. You mentioned a little bit ago, like, the VFX in the final battle, undeniably the best part of the movie, and I don't know. There are a couple scenes that rival it. Like, I didn't go with it for my scene simply because I went for my shot during that scene and I wanted to spread the love a little bit. I do end up picking the scene where he fights Rhodey in his house to Another One Bites the Dust. Super badass action sequence. And that's the thing. This movie, it has a character that has so much in it. And if I come away going like, all I really gave a shit about was the action sequences, I don't think it was very good.
No, I am not saying that this is a good movie. I'm just saying that I have a blast while watching it. I was also high while watching, so I think that helped a lot. But critically, it isn't that great. They could have dove into so much better. But if you're wanting a movie to throw on in the background, and then whenever the action comes on, you pay attention, perfect. And I was looking through the MCU movies, and you were like bottom 3. I don't think I really necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm like, that's all of bottom 3.
It's like I might put some new ones. I might put some new ones under it. Like, I'd rather watch this than like Thor: Love and Thunder, or even Quantumania.
My other bottom 2 are Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm not saying those movies were good, but the worst 3.
I have
Ant-Man is top 5. Fucking love the first Ant-Man. But 2 and 3, and don't get me wrong, this speaks more about how much I enjoy a lot of the MCU. Like, that's the thing, is that, like, I don't actively hate any of the movies we're talking about. I don't hate this movie. I don't hate Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't hate Quantumania. I just think that they've made more enjoyable things.
I need Thor: Love and Thunder to be in your bottom 3. I'm sorry.
It's probably bottom 5.
Iron Man 2. Definitely below Iron Man 2. I have my Iron Man 2 on my number 12 for all of the movies that we've covered so far. That's where it landed for me. I couldn't put it above the first X-Men or X2 or even V for Vendetta. I have more fun with that, but like The Incredible Hulk, which we just covered, I'd rather watch Iron Man 2. Ghost Rider, Spider-Man 3. I'm coming to Iron Man 2. Like, it's
Ghost Rider 2? I think Ghost Rider has too much nostalgia for me. It's a shit movie.
It's got to be a time of the year to watch Ghost Rider. I don't know. I can watch Iron Man 2 whenever. Ghost Rider, it seems it has to be kind of spooky season.
100% rewatch Spider-Man 3.
I'll give you the tier. I'll give you the tier where mine fell on my ranking. So, Iron Man 2, of the 39 movies we've covered for the comic book movie journey through film now, this fell at 27. And it is amidst Batman and Robin, Blade Trinity, and Hulk 2003.
That's just blasphemy. It is just critically, I understand. Overall, blasphemy. I don't know, and I guess I was a lover of Iron Man. I'm a Team Iron Man since day one. It's like it's everything I wanted to be, minus like the asshole and like the everything. It's just like I want his suit, I want his house, I want his cars, I want his basement, I want everything about Iron Man because it's like more obtainable. It's like the Batman. We can have a Batman. Thor. I'm not going to wake up and be Asgardian and have the powers of Thor. I could seemingly in the future have an Iron Man suit. That is a possibility.
That's where me and you are built different. Exactly. I could absolutely wake up being Thor one day.
Obviously Thor is way cooler. Like, obviously. But
I get it. No, I 100% get, like, I just never made that attachment, and I think it's made me have the capability to kind of, and that's the thing though, is that like, Iron Man 1, I just told you that Iron Man 2 falls at 27. I've got Iron Man top 10. Like, I like the first one, and I really like the third one. I'm just not a fan of this one.
Where's Iron Man 3 at?
We haven't done Iron Man 3 yet. So so when we get there, I'll be able to. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm putting it above Iron Man at 10 right now. I love Iron Man 3.
Wow.
Iron Man 3 is my favorite Iron Man.
I know this is just like a personal preference thing, but you're blowing my mind right now.
Okay, not to make this an Iron Man 3 conversation, but if we're going to talk about the reasons like why I think like the whole balance of world building and Hammer and Vanko as co-villains, look at Iron Man 3. They have the Ten Rings / Ben Kingsley's character as like one of the villains, as well as
the big orange blow up guy. Yeah, the old guy that got turned down. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The Mandarin.
The blonde guy.
10 times more compelling and 10 times more seamlessly integrated and understandable in the realm of the story, and the story's compelling and all of those things. Like, that to me was how that like kind of creative liberty and that kind of leap, I guess, gets taken more, I guess, organized. I don't know, and it's not necessarily their fault. Like, I think Vanko and Hammer had potential to work together, and there definitely is a story there. I think the problem is we are wedged into an MCU building movie as well. You have all of these things that have to tie in, and I think that's what has caused the problems. At least in my opinion, like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Iron Man 3 is also post Avengers. It is after an Avengers movie,
and that's my thing. Is already built. What I remember is that Iron Man 3 does the most interesting character work with Tony Stark. Like, that's, and ultimately this, more than a lot of the movies we've covered so far. You know, we've obviously covered a few sequels. You know, we've covered the Spider-Man trilogy, we've covered Superman 2, 3, 4, etc. Blade, Batman, and Batman Returns and stuff. I think the thing for me is that with those, the only other one that I could see being like a drop off in quality and in tone, not even particularly, Superman 2. Like Spider-Man 2 versus Spider-Man. There's a lot of people will tell you Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man. And that is seamless. Like there is an absolute continuity there. I feel that. The fact that this is directed by the same man blows my fucking mind. For Iron Man, like it feels like a completely different movie. And I understand that was probably they're definitely going for that. They're going for a tone switch. They're going for, like Tavares was saying much earlier, the switch into a more family friendly sort of, well, we got a bunch of money out of Iron Man. Let's really bring them back for Iron Man 2 and keep them coming after that. And we want the whole family there next time. You know, like I 100% get that.
There's a really great documentary I saw once about the making of Iron Man 1, where it was like Marvel was about to like fucking go bankrupt. Like they were about to not exist if that movie didn't do well. And now they're raking in the cash. And it just shows that money changes you. Money changes you.
Money changes you. Money changes you. No, that's the thing is, like it felt like Jon Favreau, I think that in the first one, really impressive direction. And this one, really middling direction. It's really middle of the road. I think visually the first one. And that's the thing, is that ultimately the reason my enjoyment of this one is just so massively effective is that it is the same creative team as the first one, and it's just nowhere near as good. It's the first one that we've come to in a while where the quality of it is actually actively lessening my enjoyment simply because of the potential it had. You've said multiple times, there are several things that had the bones, like Ivan Vanko had the bones, Hammer Tech had the bones, and you know, you have a pretty decent runtime. What did this come down at? 2 hours?
It is 2 hours 4 minutes. So yeah, right.
2 hours 4 minutes. I mean, like, and it's extremely well paced. You know, I'll give it that. You know, the 2 hours does go by. It's pretty seamless. I have no beef there. I love the folding in of, there's so many things that they're getting through that if you even give this movie maybe another 15 minutes of runtime, make it 2 hours, 19 minutes, you might be able to get stuff more comfortably well thought out and more well executed.
The 2 hours 4 minutes tells me that they maybe even had that cut ready, but it was like, we we don't expect or believe that people will want to go see this in theaters because it's over that 2-hour mark.
Right. And I think that what we also have kind of every single thing we've said about the quality of the movie maybe being lessened and, money changes. Yeah, we're doing world building. We're officially going to lean into this thing, is a business decision, I think there is a lot of stuff here that is probably to a degree corporate meddling. Like, I think that's almost certainly the case. And I don't think it fails on all sides. Like I said, I picked Black Widow as my favorite character. I loved her inclusion, and I loved Nick Fury popping up and being like, sir, please exit the donut. I love that. That's fucking funny. And they have a nice little scene where he points him in the right direction. And there are multiple moments that do have a lot of heart. I like
the shot, by the way, too, the donut shot.
Oh yeah, classic one.
Classic. Actually, it's a starts with Tony up there, slowly zooms out, and actually goes all the way down to Samuel L. Jackson, like behind his head, to see Tony in there. I was like, actually for a shot there, that was pretty cool.
That's true. I said that the last sequence is the only visually stimulating sequence to me in the movie, and that is a lie. That shot is also cool. I do like that.
The Drago walking away from the explosion and snapping the dude's neck was really sick. That moment, I had that in there for my shot as well. It was a oneer from him, exiting his cell, snapping the guy's neck, and then walking away from the explosion. And then he also brushes his shoulder as he walks right in front of the camera. I thought it was just kind of badass. Had that in there.
I'm between the donut scene in terms of shot, like the donut, or the couple seconds where he's walking on the racetrack and he burns off his prison suit.
Dude, that was going to be mine. I was going to say that. And I think the thing that upsets me most about that is that scene starts off looking so visually great with the, I guess, tendrils and the electricity and all that stuff burning off in that pattern first. And then it kind of hangs down, drapes below him. That looks great. And then there's a scene 2 minutes later when he's walking through all the flames and smoke from the car that he smacked when Tony, was watching the gas leak. And it's the lighting and the smoke interacting with Vanko is horrible.
There are some horrendous visual effects,
really
background uses.
Because I think that setting for a fight and the effects could potentially be immense. And like I said, they showed it right away with you see it twice. You can tell they wasted all of the energy, effort, and money for the effects in that whole minute sequence on the track is Tony suit up and Vanko burning the suit off, and then all of the practical stuff. Everything else, unfortunately, visually just had to get a Band-Aid put on it, essentially, because I promise.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done. Sorry.
No, I pretty much that was.
No, yeah, I was just gonna build on the VFX being rough. There's a conversation between Nick Fury and Tony Stark, where he is in, I think, a beachfront.
I think they're on his balcony. I think.
Yeah.
Right.
My God. It's I don't know that there's ever been a more obvious green screen, and then the emotional ending of the movie, Gwyneth Paltrow and Tony Stark kissing and Rhodey being there. Just love when I can so obviously tell you're on a soundstage. It's incredible. It's very pleasing.
Yeah. After seeing Heat too, after seeing how good a cityscape can look in the background, and two people on a balcony, it was pretty rough. But that there were a few glimmering moments. Even during the fight scene, Rhodey versus Tony in his house, he gets pushed into the fireplace and he's literally engulfed in flames. It's just this 1 second shot or 2 second shot of Tony literally the Iron Man suit engulfed in flames was really cool. And then the two shots I'm actually debating on going with are whenever he's in his basement. And Tony's kind of sitting on his side with his knee up, reading his dad's notebook, and then in the background is the projector of his actual dad talking to him. And in that moment, Howard says, "And right here is my greatest creation." And then Tony stands up right behind the table at that exact second. And then cool. So you see the old Tony, and then his dad, and then the young Tony behind him. I thought it was really cool. My line
came from that scene.
Yeah, that scene. I mean, it's pretty strong.
Is it when he says that? And now, my ass or whatever he says.
Wow. Yeah, I think Colton's going a little more serious.
I'm going a little more sentimental with it. My greatest creation has always been and always will be you, or whatever. However he says it. I thought it was in a movie that doesn't have like where it is all the action and all the excitement and all that. I feel like lacked a bit of heart. That moment kind of grounded it for me, and it felt nice. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, he was a dying man on his way out. Samuel L., came in clutch with the whatever shots he's given him, to help him out during the time. And so that kind of gave him a little more spark. He's like, oh, wait, maybe I haven't tried everything yet. And
that's a cool visual as well. Like the
like Pack-a-Punch. It looks like Pack-a-Punch from like Black Ops 1 if you Pack-a-Punch a gun, but like on his skin. It's what it reminds me of every time. In Zombies, specific, if not, then no. But yeah, I love that his father was like the true spark, the true spark that gave him like all the. All right, now I'm back in. I'm Iron Man again, sort of thing. But it was that the shot of him watching his dad, and then also when he creates the new element, and then you see like his face and like his eyeball like right in the middle of the triangle, and then he picks it out, and then it focuses on his face through the little circle thing that was holding it there. I thought that was really cool as well. And I guess there's some theories that this element is vibranium, that this is like synthesized vibranium. What do y'all think of this? Or is this just like element?
I mean, I think that could be
because cool. Howard was working. He made Steve Shield. You know, like that's like how that came to be. That was vibranium. They had vibranium, and like I would assume that he was trying to replicate vibranium. That's his life's work, but he didn't have the technology to do so at the time. And Tony has a goddamn particle accelerator in his basement that you literally smash atoms together. So I think like it was. I don't know. It's obviously way too early in the MCU to be like, oh yeah, they're definitely thinking ahead, and this is vibranium, and Howard Stark did all this shit. Way too
think
far.
There's a possibility that, like at the time, it's completely inconsequential. Like there's no intention behind it, and I think if you want a head candidate as such, I would not have any complaints. That'd be fine. As of MCU canon at this point, Wakanda is completely shut off from the world, the real Wakanda, and nobody knows they have vibranium besides a few select members of S.H.I.E.L.D. who are probably long dead by now. So like, I don't think it's really that, if it's a thing, it's a thing. If it's not, it's not. But I like that idea.
We'll probably never know. But, I don't know. I like to imagine that they have all this shit stored up, like this was thoughts from the jump, but no.
Well, we do see Peter Parker in this movie, of course.
Actually,
wonderful retcon.
You don't know about
retrospect. Yeah, you don't know about this? That shocks me. The kid he saves from the droid with the Iron Man mask on has been retconned to be Peter Parker.
That's bullshit.
When did that happen?
It's during the final fight sequence.
No, I mean, like, how is it retconned to be Peter Parker?
A couple years. Known? It was like some ancillary material. It was some like.
Oh, not even in the Spider-Man movies?
No.
Oh, then how the fuck would I know that? Wait, how did they say that? They just said it? Like, oh yeah, that's Peter Parker?
Right.
Like, that's bullshit. Wow, that's lazy as shit. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that they did that. No, that's terrible.
But like,
you like the vibranium?
Or is it in Civil War?
They didn't confirm that. That's just my own
driving
shit.
by and he references the Expo. So, I mean, I guess you could say it crops up in Homecoming in a way.
Damn,
he points, he goes that, like, or something like that. Like he drives past it, and maybe it was in Civil War with the camera.
Maybe that's why he's so obsessed with Tony Stark.
Yeah, that's why they retconned it. Is like Tony Stark unofficially retconned it. Is like Tony Stark saved his life, so that's why he's so indebted to Tony and stuff. So
I thought you were about to tell me I missed a part in one of the movies.
Oh, no. They need to retcon that in Homecoming. Like you can't just like post facto be like, yeah, that happened. Like at least like give it some weight or like some significance to their relationship because it has 0 and it needs 0. Like. What's the point?
Right. Yeah, no, that's just a fun little fact.
Wow.
that I meant to be a fun little fact. I'm sorry, don't yell at me.
Oh no, it's okay. No, I was more of like I thought that it was leading up to be like, yeah, no, you didn't know that in Homecoming was literally like part of it.
No, there's nothing in the movies. It was I can't even remember what it is. In fact, it was some fucking MCU. It might have been like a book, like a timeline book that they made.
Oh, that new mega timeline, yeah.
This happened a couple years back, so it wouldn't have been like it's not a new thing.
It was pretty close to like soon after Homecoming. I feel like
it's several years back.
It's definitely that time.
I can't believe I haven't heard of that. I feel like
that was my thing. Is like the only reason I thought like I was shocked you haven't heard of it is because it's been something that resurfaces on my Twitter timeline like once a year. Like I see it all the fucking time.
Did you
regardless,
what's
that?
It's always those AI bot tweets where it's like, did you know on this day 7 years ago Tony Stark saved Peter Parker? And
right.
Huh.
Yeah, no, it's
Was Stan Lee in this one? Did I miss it?
Oh yeah.
One of the probably the best Stan Lee cameo for my money. He's actually playing another person. During the montage where it's from Tony's perspective and Happy's escorting him off the premises, and he's like, here's this guy. And he's like, nice to meet you. We'll have to get in touch. And he goes, Larry King, and Larry King is Stan Lee.
Oh my God, that's right. Okay, maybe that's why I didn't remember. Because wait, is it clear that it's Stan Lee, or did they kind of make him look like Larry King?
I mean, like he's supposed to be playing.
He's dressed like him. Like he's resembling him, but like you can easily tell it's Stan Lee.
Yeah, if you're looking for it, it's Stan Lee.
I actually just thought that was Larry King, dude.
I mean, like he is playing Larry King.
Wait,
got him
what?
Up in suspenders and the whole nine. But yeah, that's one of the better Stan Lee cameos for my money.
Yeah, it's not even close. It's definitely Stan Lee.
I come down in a pretty middle of the road spot as far as this movie. I have a good time watching it. I don't want to undersell it as being like, I have a terrible time. No, it's fun,
27 is the end of the road.
27 out of 39,
not the middle.
Yeah, I guess
39.
I guess the middle of 40, a little under.
You can see the end of the road at 27.
That's fair.
You're getting there. You're halfway
in the grand
to the
scope
end.
of comic book movies. There will be a lot that rank below this. I will say that.
Yeah.
DC's got some shitters coming our way.
And I agree. And this is at 12 for me. Like this is kind of where I have every MCU movie is you got to give them credit. They do a good job of like making a pretty good movie.
It's at least an entertaining movie, no doubt.
I have this one up at 12.
I will say, Phase 1, you have Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, The Avengers. Easy 5 out of 5 there. Out of the
not
5.
Incredible Hulk.
I like Incredible Hulk more than this.
Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of I don't have any will or reason to really go back and revisit it again. But I could see me watching this again just because of how fun it is.
Here's my thing. I don't really have a great desire to revisit either of them. So
fair enough. Touche. Wow, this is going to be a hell of a rating.
A rating to remember. Might be the first one since Watchmen where we're not on the same page.
Yeah, we're usually not. We're usually not in disagreements. It is enough.
And I don't think this one will be quite as big a discrepancy. Like enjoyment, I can be persuaded. So we'll see. But are we ready?
What was the deal? Who was on what end in the Watchmen?
I don't like Watchmen. I don't think that movie's very good.
I had a blast, dog. I had a blast with that movie.
This is typically, if we're on opposite ends of the spectrum, it is typically I didn't like it and Joseph did.
I like everything pretty much, even if it's shitty. Morbius,
and that's an exaggeration. Opposite ends of the spectrum means that I'm like, it's fine. It takes a truly terrible fucking movie for me to be like, I do not like this movie, Like Watchmen, it's fine. I'll probably watch it again at some point. Like I don't have anything necessarily against it completely. And that's the same thing going here, roughly. Like I don't have anything against it. I think it's a fun viewing. It's a good time. It sure as shit could have been done better.
Yeah. I also only read the first half of the Watchmen comics and had not read the ending before I watched the movie. So I watched the movie and I'm like, holy shit, this is the most faithful adaptation that they could have done. And then I watched the ending of the movie and I'm like, really? That's how they end the comics? Like, that's kind of, I didn't really think that's where they were going. There was some island and shit that they just didn't bring up.
The end of the Watchmen movie is so far from the end of the
So I think that's why I love it a lot more, is because I do only have that first half of the comics read. I still need to read the end. I haven't read the end yet, but I really need to.
It's something. But are we ready for a rating for this bad boy? Do we just want to go ahead and declare it like a collective? Do we all want to, or everybody chimes in? And what do we have enjoyment wise, Kyler?
Yeah.
How are you coming down 1 to 10 here?
I'd say a 7.
7? Okay, that would put it on our list around a Superman 2, a Constantine, the original Fantastic Four, and Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we have at 7, and I will say I am northward of that. That's for sure for me.
That's what I'm close. I'm real close to that, but I'm like I think I enjoy Iron Man 3 a little more. And so, do you all, when you all are rating these, do you typically compare like the rating scales to the other movies there?
We typically do, yes. And it's hard for me to separate it from we have a couple projects going where we have the director's spotlight and we also have this. And the director's spotlight movies we're generally more critical on, whereas these it's like, oh yeah, like that was fun. It's a comic book movie. This is what it is, you know. Let's fuck it. Throw a number at it, you know.
Yeah.
So like my gut took me like way below what I would actually put it compared to a lot of the other movies that we have on this list, you know. So that's kind of the problem for me.
I think I'm sitting at like a 7.5, 7.5.
That's a Blade. Blade is 7.5. Blade Trinity. Like here, X-Men: The Last Stand is at a 7.75.
I'll watch that again before this.
That's a pretty damn good movie. I'm not gonna lie.
That ending, though. Talk about that ending. That ending
is horrendous. That ending is horrendous. It's a terrible ending to a not very great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I have more
You're
fun.
not wrong. You're not wrong.
I have more fun.
Daredevil. That's a 7.75.
Daredevil is the shit.
Daredevil.
I'm south of that personally.
The problem with it is okay. Here's what I'm noticing is that some of these movies that like Tavares, you said that Daredevil is shit, and I would agree. But I feel like that's a movie that is so uniquely shitty and does shitty in such a fun way that you can enjoy.
I'm pretty sure Tab also said.
I see what you're saying. I was trying to say the shit. Like I fucks with Daredevil.
Daredevil's not bad. No, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that
it is.
2 is constructively.
Constructively, I think it's a pretty horrible movie.
It's not very great.
That's just entertaining as fuck.
I don't know. I still think Iron Man 2 is more.
I think we're on in terms of quality. Let me spit this at you. I think I'm on similar footing to Daredevil.
Yeah, and there's Oh, you mean like critically?
Critically.
Yeah, that would be a 6.
Ish, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, like enjoyment wise, Daredevil's a 7.75. I'm either there or an 8 is where I'm at. I'm either at 7.75 or an 8.
I'm gonna tell you the fucking highest I'm gonna go is 7. That is ceiling.
Dog.
The ceiling is the roof here.
Fantastic Four. The first
brother.
Fantastic
I told you
Four.
I had this at 27. Would you like to list off all the ones that are at 7?
That is 27. That would make it 27th on the list for enjoyment, though. That's 27 for just enjoyment, not overall. Like it will get shit on critically. It will get shit on. I mean, not too hard for the genre.
I trust.
Like enjoyment. This is where it excels. This is where like it is on the same level as like Daredevil, Batman '89. That's 7.75. That is like for an enjoyable.
I have
movie,
Daredevil at 21. I have Batman '89 at 25. So like that's roughly the same tier, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think a 7 is criminally low for this movie, especially on our scale. Where
are you at, Joseph?
Just like I'm at a 7.75. I can maybe go to an 8. An 8 is Ghost Rider and X-Men, Batman Returns. Those movies, like X-Men.
Generous,
I don't know if I could put it above X-Men. X-Men, the first one is pretty fun to watch. and I don't know if I could necessarily put it above that. So that's why I'm at like a 7.75.
I'll give you 7.5. I'll give it to you. I'll give it. I'll grant it, but that will be as high as I let it go. If you want to take it more,
this is the only category I care about. Like, and I will like it doesn't deserve it highly in really any other category. Maybe the action gives a genre bump a little bit. But I think enjoyment, that is where it did excel. Like, it's tying with X-Men The Last Stand, The Donner Cut, Daredevil, and Batman 89. I think that's fair company, in my opinion. But now, genre, what is the genre? Action, sci-fi. We were talking up the action here.
No, genre-wise, I think this movie knows exactly what it is, and I think it does a very good job at doing what it attempted to, for the most part. The action sequences are badass. The sci-fi stuff is pretty cool. You know, like I don't have any complaints in that regard. I just think as far as a movie is concerned, I'm coming down at probably around 7.5, 8. You know.
Yeah, the first Iron Man we gave an 8. I'd say the action's probably a little better here, but the story, was more involved there. So I guess genre-wise,
maybe 7.5 again.
Yeah, and that's Batman and Robin and X-Men. So I think that's actually kind of fair, a 7.5. The action, yeah, it's below the first one. Is it either a 7.75 or a 7.5? Is it in that? Is it just below? Like, because Iron Man's an 8. And then we don't even have a 7.75 at all for genre. Yeah,
I mean, like, I'll go either way there. Like, I'm not gonna split hairs here. If you want to go ahead and throw in a number,
it's not quite Iron Man 1, but I think the action in here should give it that little. Like, it's just right below. I'd put it at a 7.75. I guess that's two 7.75 so far, and then now I guess adaptation wise,
Whiplash is
the alcoholism. Do you think that hurts it, or like that's just like for Robert Downey Jr.?
It takes a bigger swing at that than Iron Man 1 did.
I feel like you have to factor that in on every Iron Man movie if that's a discount for some reason on this.
Yeah, we gave the first one an 8. Adaptation. Yeah, what were you about to say about Whiplash though?
Whiplash isn't wonderfully adapted. That's not a super. It's kind of like this is the beginning of the Tony Starkification of villain, and Whiplash is an Iron Man villain. Don't get me wrong, but the way that him and his presence bleeds into villains to come, Mysterio and Vulture and shit like that. It's like, oh, I have beef with Tony Stark, and therefore everybody who's a superhero, kind of. So it's a very MCU-ified Whiplash, which I don't have a problem with. I think it works relatively well for the movie. I
think RDJ as Iron Man though, it's like
it's pretty spot on. It's pretty good, man. Like,
and kind of like he is the character. Like that guy, like he just. I mean, even if it's not comic accurate, like even if it wasn't like for Tony Stark, like he made that character known around the world. So I think like he always does great.
I think I'll go 7.75, 7.5. Because Obadiah Stane was better adapted than Whiplash is.
Maybe just a little bit less than the first one again. So like another. Is that 3 7.75s in a row?
Is that what we landed on for enjoyment? I didn't agree to that.
I thought you did. You said you'd give me this. Oh, you said 7.5.
7.5.
Oh, I thought you meant like the end, just the decimal. Oh, fuck. 7.5.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, it should not be 3 7.75s.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Because I'll tell you, where I'm at, it's below a 7. It's 6.75 for me. So me giving you 7.5, it's generous. That's very generous.
That puts it on the same level as Blade and Blade Trinity. Blade's fun, I guess.
Hey, brother,
but
you have
the Last Stand.
You have a way to make it what you want. We've instituted a rule.
It's just for a 2.5 bump, though. You know what I mean? I feel like this should be saved for if you were at like a 5, or some shit. I'd be like, Sumai. You can invoke Sumai by slicing your hand open and letting it.
Do you recall, Tavares? You've watched Game of Thrones, of course. You remember Zaro Zoan Doxis at the gates of Karth, the greatest city that ever was or will be.
Fuck yeah, and he got his shit rocked.
He got his shit rocked, right? But when they're debating on whether or not to let her in, he has to be the one to go, I invoke Sumai, and therein he got absolute say in the matter. They were able to let her in because he invoked Sumai and said she could come in.
Basically so now taking all the burden upon himself. If it were to go bad, it is all on him. So you're saying, I invoke Sumai, I stand behind this rating so much that if it's disagreeable by the public, it is all on you and not the other people who did not invoke Sumai.
Watchmen, 2 Sumais were invoked for Watchmen.
And I think it was for a 4.25 jump as well. I was just passionate about the Watchmen.
So you get 5 Sumais for the entire project, and we've only used 1 each, and they were both in the same episode.
It was a heated episode.
Yeah, y'all were having a heated conversation. It sounds like
it was a fun one. It was a fun one. This is the most heated we've been since, actually.
Yeah. It doesn't get very heated. We usually agree. Very, very.
We usually are just like, yeah, man, I liked it too. That was great.
I love that you all are giving your genuine reaction.
I guess I'll give it a 7.5. No Sumai here.
Let's talk critically. Kyler, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10?
5.5. That I don't know how much more there can. I think definitely can't be more than 6 in my eyes.
Blade.
5.5. Blade, a little bit below Daredevil. Not as well made as Daredevil.
It's not as well made as Blade. So,
actually, okay, story wise, yeah.
Everything wise, this is not as good a movie as Blade. There is one thing going for this movie, and it is Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. He's
pretty strong.
Yeah. No, yeah. One performance can only carry a movie so far. Let's not kid ourselves. The movie is a piece of shit to look at. The visual effects are not great. There's a couple great action sequences, I won't deny, but even those don't look fantastic. They're just cool. You know, like that. Except the last one. The last one is the best looking part of the movie. I will grant you that.
That last sequence is
the story is criminally underdeveloped. It's. In fact, a 5.5 to me is generous. I think a 5 is more where I come down.
Honestly, I'd agree with that. That's where my immediate thinking was 5.
All the blades are just hovering around there. It ties it with Hulk, Constantine, Fantastic Four, and Blade. Or no, that's it, yeah. Fantastic Four, Constantine, Hulk, and Blade 2. Sorry, there is a Blade in there. That would be a 5.
Yeah. I think that's where I come down at, is
Fantastic Four region.
Brother, that's the one for me. When we were talking about Iron Man to you is what the Fantastic Four movies were
critically,
to me
though.
When I
critically. We're not talking enjoyment here. We're talking
Fantastic Four is a much more well-formulated movie than this is. In terms of story.
Story, yeah, I'll give it that for sure. But like even the bad VFX in here, I guess it is 2000 whatever the year Fantastic Four came out. But like I still think this looks better than Fantastic Four. Even how shitty it is.
I think cinematography-wise, this is one of the most boring movies I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I was saying like just how good the VFX look.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the visual effects, the thing that really disappoints about the visual effects in this movie is how good the visual effects were in Iron Man.
Yeah.
And that's really where the source of the kind of vitriol for the visual effects comes from me.
Yeah, I guess like the OG Hulk 03, that was a 5. Like
where does your gut take you? Like where are you sitting?
It is around middle of the road. Like Daredevil, like I'd probably say it's a better made movie. That's at a 6. So like I'm not there. Blade 1 is at a 5.5. I would say that Blade 1 is better. I just don't really remember much about Blade 2 at all. I can remember specific things out of this movie, like they're on the back of my hand. Like I've just seen this movie so much compared to the Blade movies that it's like it's kind of hard to gauge. But I think I'd be like at a 5.25 or a 5. Okay. Is like so I'm like right there with you guys. I'm just either a 5.25 or 5.
Yeah, no, I'm a go straight down the middle. Like if I had to pick, I would go 5. You know, I think that it's got a little going for it. It's got a lot just not hitting the mark, you know, and it's not actively terrible, you know, like it's not like it's what a garbage ass movie. It's just not very good at all.
It could have done so much more. Like,
and that's more than anything. Yeah. What's disappointing is that it has the bones and it had the potential to be a damn good movie, a damn good sequel. And I think you find ourselves like, you know, looking at all the other 2s in MCU, Winter Soldier and Thor: The Dark World and Age of Ultron and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Far From Home and Wakanda Forever and all these. You're looking at one of the bottom 2 there, I would argue, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you. I do hear you. So if we give it all that, it shakes out to be a 7 overall.
It's incredibly nice in my
everything
opinion.
Said and done. So
I mean, everything else on the list is incredibly
okay.
nice.
That puts it right tied with Spider-Man 3 and Batman Returns, which I
think that's perfect.
Yeah, overall, like it's better than the Donner cut. It's better than Batman Forever, Incredible Hulk.
It's just crazy to me because I know of I know of Spider-Man 3 is like a pretty blatantly like jumbled, not that great movie. Like I definitely would still at least watch Spider-Man 3 before I turn this on again.
I was actually wrong.
I was Spider-Man 3 at 23.
I was looking at the critical scores. It is below Spider-Man 3. It is the average scores. It actually settles below the Donner cut, below Hulk, below X-Men, below Batman 89, Spider-Man 3. It is only above Blade 1, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, and Superman 2. Yeah, that's what it's above. I was looking.
And there's a laundry list of movies also down there, but that's what's near it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
and that ends up shaking it out to be right in the middle of our fucking list.
Number 18 on average.
18 out of 39. So
I gave it 12. You gave it 27. So I guess not closer.
You
to
won
me.
out. You won out.
Yeah,
I granted it. You know, the genre and adaptation ratings help. You know, like that's like it's solid. You know. But if I had my say in a 6.75 enjoyment plus the 5 critical, this movie would come out to a 56%. Which is
and
more accurately where I come down.
Below Howard the Duck, below Constantine, below Fantastic Four, below Elektra.
That's considering the adaptation and genre rating still, and all those. I removed those from my.
True. Okay. I'd say those would help those movies, if anything. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
So those movies are probably actually lower. Fair enough. Okay, but I'm glad it shaked out to 7. I can agree with the 7 out of 10. I'm not too angry at that at all. Sorry that you had to let it go a little bit for you, Colton.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I got a 6.9 on IMDb.
You don't really like Iron Man 3, do you, Joe?
Me? No, I love Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
I love all the Iron Man.
The vibe you were getting earlier kind of seemed like you didn't like it, so I was like, it sounds like Colton and I might have a little bit of a feel.
No, I think he was shocked that I claimed Iron Man 3 is my favorite Iron Man movie.
I like the first one. I think it's just a classic. It starts off I don't know, but maybe I haven't watched it in a while. It's the least one. It's the one I've given the least amount of watches. So maybe I'll find something.
It is no doubt the Iron Man movie I've watched most.
Okay, wow.
I watch it every Christmas season. Like we're getting that time of year.
I'll give it a chance. I'll be a little more open minded.
It's a Christmas movie.
Okay,
it's a Christmas.
It's a Christmas movie. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck is that a Christmas movie?
It's just set during Christmas, and he makes a bunch of
terrorist organization, and then orange explodey people that are blowing up people on the how's that Christmas?
That's going to be one of those movies where we revisit it, and you'll be astonished by how much you like it. I guarantee that one we will not disagree on, and your opinion of it will elevate. You might not be in the same place as I am, where I'm like, it's my favorite Iron Man movie, but I don't think you'll have any complaints about where I come down on it.
I remember like him blowing up all of his suits, like that. It's like that moment, like of just getting rid of letting go, whatever. I guess he goes right back to tinkering and everything. I guess it could have been his send-off, though.
I also think creatively that's the movie of, as far as like, like standalone character movies. That was one of the earliest ones that I felt like really took a lot of liberties and leaps, I guess, be it story or creatively, like within the movie itself. And I think that lends it a lot in my.
Not directed by Jon Favreau,
but
Shane Black on that one.
Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah, Jon Favreau is pretty hit or miss. I think that he's had hits, he's had misses.
He's like 70% from the field. He's like Jamal Crawford.
I think
like when he's on the court, he's killing that shit. But he doesn't have a massive
part of the problem too is when Iron Man 2 came out. Like, think about when Iron Man 1 came out versus Iron Man 2 and where movies took off in that gap of time between then and versus what the quality and the type of stuff he's making now. Like, I think he needed a little bit of time to kind of catch his breath and almost
Brother
like
directed
acclimate
the
to
live
the new
action
era
Lion
of
King,
making
so.
movies.
Favreau?
Yeah. So
I just
forever in my poor graces. Fucking despise that guy for that reason.
Yeah, I just meant more like he definitely like had some things to figure out in terms of how to try to make.
Oh yeah, like I mean, technologically, I don't think anyone has pushed the field of filmmaking forward technically on a greater scale since like George Lucas. This man has figured out how to create VFX in a way that are groundbreaking. Like he's got to give his credit where it's due. It's just that I like what he's brought. I like the things he's brought into my life, but his lasting impact on them might not be so great.
All right. Well, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than this. I'm not going to lie. From our conversations we were having,
I just didn't want to waste a Sumai on negativity. There are a few down the line that I'm going to Sumai the shit out of a 10 enjoyment. I'll tell you that.
Hey, fair enough. I think that's what you should reserve those for. They'll have the most impact.
Yeah, that seems right. I just don't know of like a movie that I wouldn't be on the same. Like, what movie would I not be on the same?
No, and that's the thing is that it wouldn't be to the level where you actively dislike it. I'm talking the difference between an 8 and a 10. Or an 8.5 and a 10. Like I want to give it that fucking oomph.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there are none that you'd be like, this is a 6, and I'm like, it's a 10. No, that's not gonna happen. Yeah. Just like this, our disagreements was like a 1.5. Like it's hardly shit. And we act like it was opposite ends of the spectrum. It's like it's right there. It's right. It's not that big a deal, which is ultimately why I don't give a shit that this shook out to a 7 out of 10. You know what? Content creation needs more positive voices, and if this is a 70%, it's a 70%. I can be okay with that. So,
yeah. I think
yeah. With that,
the first union of you two is coming to a close now.
The union of the Penny Bloomiverse, biggest crossover in some time.
Crazy it took this long.
How great the union
145
was.
deep.
Man,
but yeah,
wild.
We'll be sure to have you two on the same episode again at the latest Iron Man 3, but we'll be sure to make that happen. But in the meantime, if you would stick around for Mondays where we got Winter is Blooming going on, Game of Thrones rewatch podcast still going strong. As next week, I believe, is season 6, episode 5.
Yes.
That's correct. The Door.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are familiar, Hold the Door. Pretty impactful one. If you have not watched Game of Thrones, I advise you do not listen to that show. It's full of spoilers. And you might not love getting it spoiled. It's a great show. Mm-hmm. Strongly recommend. So, I mean, we've been talking about it for 55 straight weeks now, so pretty much a couple weeks off, but
yes,
shows that we like it to an extent. Then next Wednesday, our director's spotlight on Michael Mann will continue with his 1995 classic Heat. and I'm very excited for y'all.
Very well critically done there. No,
yeah,
debates.
that'll fare a little bit better than the 7 out of 10 we gave this one, to be sure. And that's next Wednesday, and we'll be back next Friday to offset. I'm looking. I was a little negative about this one, but next week we're talking DC's Jonah Hex. So we'll see.
I have no idea what's in store.
I don't either, but
it's Josh Brolin.
It's Josh Brolin
and Megan Fox.
2010, I think.
Michael Fassbender's in there, I guess. John Malkovich as well. Okay, I mean, some good people in there, I guess. I just have no idea what to expect.
Where's this hero from? Like what?
This is a DC character, Jonah Hex.
It's a DC 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb. That's going to be great.
It's considered a Western film.
Ooh.
It's only an hour and 21 though, so it's a short
Ooh,
watch.
Only an hour and 20 minutes. I like that. At least it won't last long.
Right. That's what I was like. It sounds like they knew that they need to get people in and out.
Wow. Megan Fox won a Razzie for Worst Actress, and Josh Brolin won nominated for Worst Screen Couple and the Worst Screen Ensemble. Just nominated.
That sounds extremely exciting. I love watching bad movies.
Oh, I can't wait. So that's next Friday. Yeah, that's what you're getting out of this project. You're getting the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're doing all the Marvel and DC shit, whether we like it or not. And it's been a great deal of fun. Hilarious that's going to get the honor of being like a landmark 10 movie. It's going to be the 40th. Jonah Hex.
Damn,
that's fun.
That's what we did. Okay. Yeah, it's just got to happen that way.
These things will happen the way they happen. But yeah, with that, if you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including earlier this week where me, Joseph, and Tavares went and saw Napoleon on the IMAX screen. And it was a time, and you can hear about it over there on patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you can support this podcast financially. It's huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow @PennyBloomPod, follow on Letterboxd @PennyBloomPod, and follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening, and to continue downloading. November's been a slow month compared to some other months, but hey, that's all right. The end of the year is typically a little slower than the rest of the year. Holidays come around, people aren't dedicating their time. It's whatever. I'm not mad at any of you. None of you in particular, anyway. No, anybody who's listening, we appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much. We're going to do it no matter how many people are listening, but it's nice to know that people are.
Yeah, I just Googled Penny Bloom podcast, and the AI has like a really great overview of the pod. It's kind of
really.
Yeah, it's like the generative AI. Have you seen that on Google? Like when you ask a question.
No.
And you just type it in and it says the Penny Bloom podcast is a weekly podcast that covers movies and television. The podcast has over 450 episodes. Some of the shows and the movies covered include, and then it has a list of them. And then it tells you where you can watch them and the Patreon.
Well, shit.
Okay, Google.
Okay. I don't have that thing. How do I not have that yet? That sounds awesome. I don't know about all that. But I guess AI thinks highly of us.
That's kind of them. Shout out to Craig here recording this episode. Love you, Craig.
Craig.
But yeah, with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And thank you for returning once again, Tavares Pennington.
Oh, of course. Anytime.
And on the screen below me that I can see and you cannot, K. Beasy, Kyler Barnett. Thanks, homie. Absolutely. Remember, peace, love, and bloom. And my ass.